Music. A key tool in any thematic experience, whether it's film, TV, or theme parks. It's used to fully immerse the participant in the experience. In the UK, we have a wide range of theme parks, but there is perhaps one that puts immersion before anything else. Originally a private estate of the Earls of Shrewsbury, Alton Towers' grounds were opened to the public in 1860 to raise funds. In the late 20th century, it was transformed into a theme park and opened a number of new rides from 1980 onwards. The early years of the theme park were a less immersive time, with bog-standard fairground rides taking up a large portion of attractions on offer during the 1980s. There are of course a few exceptions to this, such as Log Flume, Black Hole and Around the World in 80 Days. But it wasn't until the 1990s when the Two Swords group took over that theming, and more importantly music, became a key principle of the park going forward. In 1990, the Two Swords Group purchased Alton Towers from famed property developer John Broome. Broome was the man who brought the theme park to life after he married the daughter of the majority shareholder of the Alton Towers grounds, Dennis Bagshaw, in 1973. It was Broome who installed what is arguably the most important attraction to operate at the resort, the corkscrew, which put Alton Towers on the map. Although the corkscrew was dismantled in 2010, the presence of the ride lives on in the entrance plaza, where the iconic double inversion element now resides as part of the grand entrance to the park. Two Swords had big plans for the park and started immediately. In 1992, two brand new attractions opened at the park, both designed by legendary ride designer John Wardley. One-Way Mine Train, a Mack Rides powered coaster, and the Haunted House, a Mack Rides dark ride. Wardley had previously designed the Bubbleworks and Vampire attractions for Chessington World of Adventures in Surrey in 1990, and while Mine Train had no musical identity at first, it would receive one some years later. It is really with the Haunted House that Alton Towers' musical legacy was born. Wardley enlisted the help of composer and friend Graham Smart to compose the score to the Haunted House. Smart had also provided the music for Wardley's other Two Swords projects, Vampire and Bubbleworks, as well as Terror Tomb at Chessington, and much like Bubbleworks, each scene in the ride would have its own piece of accompanying music. The Haunted House became one of the most beloved rides at Alton Towers, and for 10 years it stayed the same until 2002. At the end of the 2002 season, the Haunted House closed down for a much needed facelift, as it had been showing its age. When the 2003 season started, Alton Towers had a new ride in a familiar location. Guests who headed over to the Haunted House were in for a surprise. The Haunted House was no more, and Jewel, the Haunted House Strikes Back, was in its place. Jewel was the same old house, but with a twist. Zombies. The ride was filled with zombies. Something else had changed too. Gone was Smart's sweeping, wide-length score, and in its place was a single rock-inspired track by David Buckley. While many were upset at the loss of the Smart score, it was widely agreed that the Buckley track fit the new incarnation of the ride much better. David Buckley would go on to create music for the Log Flume re-theme in 2004, The Flume. Buckley would also contribute music to Chessington in the form of Toon Blaster. In 2007, Buckley's Flume soundtrack would be reused at Thorpe Park, albeit without the duck sound effects on the ride Depth Charge. Both the Flume and Jewel would go on to operate for just under 10 more years at the resort. Jewel would receive a spruce up in 2018, along with a new soundtrack by in-house Towers composer Simon Allen, which sounded much more like the Smart score, albeit still not a track for each scene. 3 tracks were created, each for different parts of the ride: the queue line, main ride theme and the graveyard scene. Jewel closed its doors on September 6, 2022 and is scheduled to reopen for the 2023 season in a new, yet to be announced form. Sadly, the Flume did not suffer such a nice fate though. It closed in 2015 and was demolished the following year to make way for Wicker Man, which opened in 2018. With the success of the Haunted House, John Wardley wanted to go big. A brand new, world-class roller coaster was what he had in mind. And so, the Secret Weapon program was born. Secret Weapons 1 and 2 were failed attempts to bring an aerodynamics pipeline coaster to the resort. But Secret Weapon 3 would be something truly special. On the other side of the park though, Around the World in 80 Days was looking quite dated and in need of repair. So the team at Towers conceived a re-theme of the attraction and enlisted Graham Smart to bring to life the musical side of this new ride. This new attraction was the much loved Toyland Tours, a bright and flamboyant journey through a toy factory. Twirl & Tours' music consists of a main theme cue which is morphed to fit each scene, which results in a unique sound to the ride. Meanwhile, back at Secret Weapon 3, progress was fast, and while Smart had provided a jolly, happy and fun sound to Toyland, Secret Weapon 3 needed a much more sinister sound to bring this beast to life. Secret Weapon 3 became the iconic Nemesis. Nemesis' music is by far the best of Graham Smart's contributions to not only Alton Towers, but the Two Swords group as a whole. The Nemesis theme is perhaps quite perfect for such a ride, as it was the 5th ever B&M inverted coaster in the world and the first in Europe. Dug into the ground due to the tree level height restrictions, it costs £10 million and is one of the most highly regarded rides in the world and is considered the best ride in the UK. But Nemesis also marked another important step forward for Alton Towers. The Nemesis TV ad was the very first time that In the Hall of the Mountain King was used in promotional material for the park. Today, the song is most well known as the Alton Towers theme and is a core element in the park's marketing and soundscapes, as a large chunk of rides currently operating at the resort have soundtracks that use an excerpt from In the Hall of the Mountain King. Once again, after the success of Nemesis, the park and John Wardley moved forward with plans for the next Secret Weapon. Originally going to be a flying coaster, Secret Weapon 4 had a rough start to development. The team quickly came to the conclusion that it wouldn't be feasible to build a flying coaster at the time, so the idea was shelved, but not forgotten. Secret Weapon 4 moved forward nonetheless, as it slowly morphed into the world's first vertical drop roller coaster, Oblivion. When it came to the music, however, there was a change. Graham Smart did not create music for Oblivion, and it wasn't even an original composition that was used. Oblivion's soundtrack was a piece of music by Dominic Blinn, who had composed music for the final few years of the original run of Doctor Who between 1986 and 1989. The piece of music in question is called Stressed Out, and it's from a 1997 Chappelle recorded music library album, Strictly Drum and Bass. It has, however, become one of the most popular soundtracks from the resort, and the park continues to pay the licensing fee to this very day. But Graham Smart still played a part in the new area, which Oblivion resides in. The park's indoor roller coaster, the Black Hole, was rethemed to fit the new theme of the area. This included a new soundtrack by Smart, and after the Black Hole closed at the end of the 2005 season, Smart's soundtrack was used on the Enterprise attraction until its closure at the end of the 2021 season. That would be the end of Graham Smart's contributions to Alton Towers. However, in 1996 he composed the music for Tower Street, the entrance area of the resort. A selection of his music from Alton Towers, as well as his compositions for Chessington Water Adventures Resort, are available to purchase on his Bandcamp page. In 2000, John Wardley's latest creation opened at the resort, Hex, the Legend of the Towers. Hex tells the story of the Chained Oak Tree, a legend based around the towers themselves. The story has been a local legend for hundreds of years. The legend says that the 15th Earl of Shrewsbury was cursed by an old beggar woman to suffer a death in his family every time a branch fell from the old oak tree. Hex's version changes the end of the original tale, with the Earl experimenting on one of the fallen branches in a vault deep within the towers themselves. And it is this vault, with its entrance bricked up behind a bookcase, that has supposedly been sealed for 2 centuries, and only recently discovered during renovation work. This is explained in several scenes during the experience. Hex itself is a dark ride, but it's unlike most others in that the majority of the ride is a walkthrough telling the story, and it ends itself off with a Vekoma Madhouse style attraction. Hex's music is by film composer Crispin Mell. Mell brings a very orchestral sound and feel to Hex that fits the ride so perfectly. An excerpt of Mell's Hex score is featured on a show reel on his website. Not long after the opening of Oblivion, work on Secret Weapon 5 began, and this time the flying coaster idea was a go. While the 2 previous Secret Weapons were portrayed as evil villains, this time however it was decided to make the ride a calm and peaceful journey through Forbidden Valley, the area which houses Nemesis, and Secret Weapon 4, which would eventually become known as Air. Music this time around was by Ian Habgood. Habgood had composed the music for Ugland in 1999 for Alton Towers, and would go on to compose more music for the Two Swords attractions, Thorpe Park and Chessington Water Adventures. These included such rides as Imperial Levels Bubbleworks and Beano Land for Chessington, and Colossus, Pirates 4D and the entrance soundtrack for Thorpe Park. Habgood's score for Air is my personal favourite ride soundtrack. A selection of his music from Alton Towers, as well as his compositions for Chessington World of Adventures and Thorpe Park, are available to purchase on his website. In 2016, Air underwent a sizable change, the addition of virtual reality, making it the world's first roller coaster fully dedicated to virtual reality. And with this addition came a name change and a new multi-track soundtrack. The name was changed to Galactica, and the soundtrack was by Imascore. More about them, however, later. Galactica's VR headsets were a lot of trouble. The Samsung Gear VR headsets were replaced with headsets manufactured by Pico early in the 2017 season. However, 2018 then saw the headsets removed from all rows except the rear three, with guests who wanted to ride with VR having to enter a separate queue upon reaching the station. The VR was completely removed from the ride before the start of the 2019 season. In 2006 was the final year that the Two Swords Group would run Alton Towers. It was also the year that Toyland Tours got rethemed again. The retheme this time, being the building's third incarnation, meant it was more structural. The boat ride was cut in half and a glass elevator simulator scene was added. This retheme would become Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the ride. Charlie's music was composed by John Marston and is very much silly, fun, cartoonish music perfect for the wacky children's ride. Marston's score is available on his SoundCloud page. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the ride would last until 2015, when it closed at the end of the season and remained standing but not operating until 2019, when it would reopen as the Alton Towers Dungeons, accompanied by a new soundtrack by in-house composer Simon Allen. More on him later. In 2007, the Two Swords Group was bought by Merlin Entertainment. Between 2007 and 2010, Merlin hired Pit Stop Productions to create music for new and existing attractions. These included Splash Landings Hotel, Katanga Canyon in Congo River Rapids in 2007, Tower Street, the Monorail, and Old MacDonald's Farmyard in 2008, Cloud Cuckoo Land in 2009, and 13, Secret Weapon 6, and The Dark Forest in 2010. Pit Stop's contributions to Alton Towers were not always the greatest, but they crafted some really well-themed music which fit each ride and or attraction correctly. It was short but sweet. Pit Stop's soundtrack to 13 is available on their SoundCloud page. – 2013. Secret Weapon 7's opening year. Publicity had built it up. The ride was the world's first 14-looping roller coaster, otherwise known as the roller coaster with the most inversions in the world. It was known as the Smiler. The Smiler is a ride with a very intriguing theme, smiling, and as such, the music heavily reflected this. The Smiler soundtrack was the first time that German-themed music producers Imascore would work with Merlin Entertainment. Imascore's ability to create such effective soundscapes for each project is truly amazing, and Merlin clearly noticed this, as they would go on to create much of the music heard on Park today at not only Alton Towers, but also Thorpe Park. Their Towers portfolio is as follows: rides such as the Smiler, Galactica, Wicker Man, and Spinball Wizard, accommodations such as Enchanted Village and the Spooky's Land Hotel, and areas such as Tower Street, the Gardens, and the Towers, as well as the Halloween event Scarefest. They also recorded music for the 2015 fireworks finale with the Budapest Film Orchestra, which is now used as the Monorail soundtrack. They also provided music editing services for the Roller Coaster Restaurant in 2016. Imascore's music for both Alton Towers and Thorpe Park are available to purchase on CD from the Imascore online shop. Scarefest 2015. Music is introduced from theme park composer Nick Hudson. His contributions to Scarefest 2015 include Tower Street, The Haunting of Molly Crow, Subspecies, The Endgames, Dark Apocalypse, and Nox Infernius. His other compositions for Alton Towers include Christmas 2015, Mutiny Bay, and Explorers Pizza and Pasta Buffet. He, much like previous composers, also provided music to Chessington and Thorpe Park. These include Dragon's Falls, Tomb Blaster, The Rainforest, and Croc Drop for Chessington, and Fright Nights, Oktoberfest, The Swarm, and Park Vibes, the last of which he worked with Archie Music Productions to provide vocals for Thorpe Park. – 2016 saw the debut of the newly appointed in-house composer Simon Allen. That year, he composed music for the yearly Scarefest event, and more specifically the Scare Mazes, Autumnville Mine Tours, and House of Monsters. Following on from this, for the 2017 event, he created music for the Wicker Man prequel maze, The Welcoming. In 2018, he composed the new soundtrack to Jewel, as previously discussed, as well as the Scare Mazes, Project 42, and Freak Show. More scare maze music followed in 2019, including the Attic and Darkest Depths, as well as the music for the Alton Towers dungeon, as also previously discussed. For 2020, Alan started composing for Towers' new event, Oktoberfest, while continuing to contribute to Scarefest once again with music for Freak Show Toxic Junkyard. 2021 was Alan's busiest year yet, with music for brand new events Mardi Gras and Summer of Fun, as well as the theme song for the range of temporary rides added to the park under the Retro Squad banner, plus crafting the sound of the brand new area, the world of David Williams, which included Gangster Granny the Ride. This year, Alan made the jump to Chessington, creating area audio for their Wilderfest event. And there we have it, the history of the sound of Alton Towers. Who knows what's next, with Jules' re-theme, the new development in Coaster Corner and Nemesis' retrack? Who knows what new sound could come out of the Alton Towers Resort?